This is June 29th. This is a special town board meeting. Could we all stand for the pledge of allegiance and the invocation? Jim, is your invocation? Jim?
You want the invocation first or the pledge first? Okay, and an invocation. Lord Father in heaven, thank you for this opportunity for all of us to meet. Thank you that we can have an opportunity to have a resolution supporting all of our police and firefighters and first responders. We appreciate all they do. We hope to keep them safe and healthy in their operations. And we ask you, Lord, to watch over them as they do their work. Amen.
Amen. Could we please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Since our town clerk is absent tonight, and Nicole's going to be our take the minute notes of the meetings of the minute, and Nicole, would you read the roll, please?
Okay, Councilmember Goldie?
Here.
Councilmember Jack Russo?
Here.
Councilmember Gray?
Here.
Councilmember Moore, that's me, I'm here. And Supervisor Esposito?
Present. Okay, we'll open up the meeting. Sorry we're running a little late at 6:20. Okay, privilege of the floor. At every scheduled town board meeting, the public shall have the right to address the town board during the course of the meeting referred to as privilege of the floor. Members of the public should restrict their comments to items of town business, although there is no official time constraint. Speakers should be considerate of others so that all interested members of the public have an opportunity to be heard. There shall be one portion of the meeting dedicated to privilege of the floor. Near the beginning of each meeting, all remarks, questions shall be addressed to the board. No person shall enter discussion with the person having the floor. Council members may address any comments during the portion of the meeting referred to as council member comments. And we'll open up privilege of the floor at 6:21. And since this is a little bit different meeting, I'd like Bill Parks over here to address the board and tell us what the plans are for July 4th. And I can see we have the Sheriff's Department here. And could you state your names back there, Sheriff's Department, please?
Deputy DeCarlo, Schenectady County Sheriff's Department. Deputy Milton Johnson, Schenectady County Sheriff's Department.
Lieutenant Gerasi, Schenectady Sheriff's Office.
And the rest, in the white shirt, I'm sorry. Yeah, state your name.
Tom Cavner, Common Road, Schenectady.
Earl Wallace, 125 Elmer Avenue, Schenectady.
Tom Chandler, 259, Route 146, Altamont.
And we know Jack and his wife back there, so they don't have to introduce themselves. You caught, Mike, anybody that listens to what's his name there, Jim?
1300
Paul Vandenberg.
Yep.
He calls in almost every day on the show, so.
Tom, Schenectady, every morning.
Tom, there you go.
JP
Tom,
Princetown.
Schenectady, every morning.
There's JP Princetown, right?
Yep.
We all call in.
Okay, Bill, you got the floor.
So you want me to stand up here and maybe walk inside here? My name is Bill Park. I live in Duanesburg. I lived up there for just over 40 years. I own Adirondack Combustion, which is an industrial boiler sales and service business up here on Route 7 in the town of Princetown. I don't want to take all the credit for this, Lou, because Earl and I have spoke all over the state in different functions on Liberty type items.
The only reason I picked on you is because you were the former supervisor in Duanesburg.
Okay.
Birds of a
So
feather.
now I'm also credited as a politician, right? Anyway, you know, and I think I just have the same feelings that most everyone else does when you see what's going on today in the country, and you say, golly, without any law and order, we don't have any freedom. In fact, that was, if anybody went by my sign the last week and a half up here, that's what I had out there was, without law and order, we have no freedom. About a week ago, I got an idea. I gave Earl a call. I said, you know, because Earl kind of knows a lot of people down in that end of the county, and we've both been involved in patriot organizations for a number of years. I said, we ought to do something. A sine wave isn't very hard to organize, it doesn't take a lot of cash, and we've got some people that we know we can get some mileage out of with advertising and that sort of thing. So we had a meeting about a week ago, right? So it's probably, I thought it was probably a couple weeks ago, and Lou came to a meeting along with Tom and Earl, and there was a gentleman from the Saratoga Sheriff's Office that came down, and we kind of just put together this loose plan. I actually would ask Earl if he would to get up and read that part of it, but you know, we're thinking that we need to just show some support for local law officials. You guys have got a tough enough job. You're out there every day with, you know, you're really putting your life on the line, guys. So, you know, I'm former military. I understand a little bit about when you write that check to the government for yourself. So I just think that we need to support you guys. And there's a lot of people around that have the same feelings I do. So, Lou, you're facilitating our goals here, so that's good. And when I talked to Mike, he said, go for it. I talked to Sergeant Logan here at the Troopers Barracks. You said you would talk to them again, but he gave me permission. So anyway, so that's kind of why we're doing this. We're also in hopes that we might get a little bit more press with Fox News. We got a contact there, a young man that works for me, was the second guy that Donald Trump pardoned, and he talks to those people. He's on their show quite often down there. So I said to him a couple days ago, I'd like you to contact Pete Hegseth, and if you give me permission, Lou, I'm going to send this resolution to him tomorrow. And this gentleman here said that he would be going around with us and taking some video of the different places that we were going to do the sine waves. Who knows what we could do, but it just could start a movement. That was kind of what my idea was, and we get some other people around the country to start doing the same things we're doing. So
You want us
anyway,
to email the resolution to you so that you can send it electronically, or do you want hard copies or both?
well, Lou gave me a copy. I mean, if you guys,
There is an adjustment on that one thing
Okay.
here, but we'll have to give you the other one.
okay.
Can you email that to us?
Yeah.
I connected us all in email today with Bortel, the chief up in, the deputy chief up in Saratoga as well. So if you find that and reply to all with your correction, we'll be good.
Would you like to get up and?
That's really what I've got, and I think Earl should get up and read the schedule that we put together. So, any other questions?
Jack, did you raise your hand?
No.
Okay. Earl, would you like to get up and?
Can I say a few words as to how I came to start hanging out with a guy like Bill? I wrote a book on leadership called The Three-Dimensional Leader: Negotiating Your Mission, Resources, and Context. I teach it on 4 continents. In 2012, I was in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and a very wealthy jihadist took me to lunch and dinner twice. The first night he says, I want you to go to, I'm just gonna stand there and address everybody, I don't wanna be rude with my back turned to people. The first night he said, I want you to go to YouTube and I want you to look up immigration, rapes, and riots in Europe. And I said, well, first of all, I'm sure that's not a thing. Nobody in their right mind would be even putting something like that up on YouTube. And I said, and besides, I don't want hotel security to think I'm looking at stuff like that or looking for things like that. And he said, if you don't do it, our conversation tomorrow will not make sense. And I was stunned by what I saw. I saw women in hospital rooms with their faces so disfigured you could not distinguish them as human. I saw men telling women, you're my girlfriend now, you're gonna wear a burqa. Nope, down she goes, another guy comes over and starts stomping on her head. I could go on and on. But anyway, the next night, as we were finishing our conversation, he poked me in the chest and he said, you people are doomed because you don't know how to defend your culture. We will use every freedom against you. And I thought, geez, I've been in the military, I always thought I was a patriot, I've been a Tea Party spokesperson. I thought, you know what, you might be right. What is American culture? And how do you defend it? And that was in March of 2012. I was in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, London, and Dubai successively for 3 or 4 years, and met different people there from the BBC and started doing some research, and I realized that in the Declaration of Independence, where it says we have inalienable rights that come from our Creator, those are your 10 commandment rights. You have a 10 commandment number 5 right to your family privacy and sanctity. You have a 10 commandment number 6 right to not be murdered. You have a 10 commandment number 7 right to not be sexually molested, and also to self-identify as the males and females that God made us, and you shouldn't be persecuted for doing so. You have a 10 commandment number 8 right to not be stolen from. You have a 10 commandment number 9 right not to be lied to or about. We have a 10 commandment number 10 right to not have evil people seize government power and design laws that deny us access to our 4 Ps, our person, our people, our position, and our possessions. And the EAP is a unconstitutional organization formed by Richard Nixon and strengthened by the Democrat Jimmy Carter. So I don't believe we really have a Republican and a Democratic system in our country anymore. I believe that God inspired the founding fathers to write the Bill of Rights, because the Bill of Rights actually secure and protect our 10 commandment rights. And so what we want to do is we want to strengthen our police officers. We want to give our law enforcement people moral clarity around the 10 commandments. Those laws come from God. Some evil mayor or some evil governor decides to violate them by edict. We don't obey that stuff. And so we are here to try to support you, to support us. They call it a thin blue line. It's the only line I got. I have no other. So we're going to be in front of this station out here from 9 until 10 on Saturday. We will then take a half-an-hour drive and hit Scotia. I've been in touch with the Scotia police, people on the Scotia Police Department. And we will be in front of the Scotia Police Department from 10:30 until 11:30. We will then be in front of both Schenectady Barracks, the main police station on Liberty Street, and also in front of the county sheriff's department from 11:45 until 12:45. We're going to go down the road to Colony and have lunch, hopefully at Venetia's Pizza Plaza. And then we're going to hit Colony from 2:30 to 3:30. We will be in Guilderland from 3:45 until 4:45. We'll do Latham from 5:15 until 6:15, and we plan to be in Clifton Park from 7 until 8 p.m. when all the cars are going by us to watch the fireworks, presuming there are going to be some. We've been in phone touch and email touch with all the police stations and all the departments, and I've been offering myself as a volunteer chaplain for you law enforcement people, because, like I said, they call it the thin blue line. It's the only one I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Earl.
Has anybody done a press release yet on this?
We just designed flyers today, and we sent one to AM 1300 this morning, but we have not done a formal press release to the newspapers. No, at least I haven't.
Well, I think everybody's read the resolution that we're proposing tonight, and I was gonna propose too that our resolution be sent to the Schenectady Gazette and the Albany Times Union, and the town would pay for it, and we put this in there that the town of Princetown supports our law enforcement. That's if the town board agrees with it, and we pass this resolution, and I don't see why we shouldn't pass it, but that was one of my proposals that's gonna be at the end of the meeting, so that would be a help. And press release, I don't know, Jim wanted to do something, if he'd like to, or you, or whatever, that we would probably be the first town in New York State to do this, to have a resolution supporting our first responders. So I think that maybe it will draw some, it's certainly gonna draw attention to us. That much I do know, according to our attorney. It's gonna draw attention to us, but I'm game with it. You know, I have no regrets about doing it, and I don't know how the rest of the town board feels, but I've got no regrets about doing it. I think that somebody should be standing up for the police. You know, I've said this before, when there's a medical emergency, when there's a domestic violence, whenever a fire, who's the first ones to respond? It's our police. If it's not our EMTs from the fire department for a medical emergency, it's always the police. Across from my home, this past week, or about a week and a half ago, there was a medical emergency. When I looked over, who was there? It was the state police. They were there, and then the EMTs arrived. I mean, what I don't understand is what is going on in this country. Why anybody in their right mind would be thinking of dismantling a police department and cutting their budget, defunding them. It just makes no sense. I just read in the paper, or I read it on the news that they're proposing a $1 billion cut in New York City for the police. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And I'll give you another example. If you got a bag of apples, or a bushel basket of apples, is it possible to have one bad apple in there? Absolutely. Let's take it even a step farther. If you got a 53-foot trailer with 44,000 pounds of apples on it, is it possible to have some bad apples in there? Absolutely. But we discard the whole trailer load of apples because there's a few bad apples in there? No. It makes no sense to me. And I'll give you another example. Last fall, when we had that 20-inch rain or snowstorm, a lady called up from the northern end of our town. She was snowed in. I went up there. I couldn't get in there. The snow drifts were higher than my pickup truck. I was going to plow her out. I had to go to Amsterdam, so I called the state police. They went up there, waded through waist-deep snow to get up there to see if she had heat and enough food. She called back down. She said, they called me back up. She says she's got enough food for another week. Our highway superintendent was going to take his backhoe up. That's his granddaughter right here, by the way, Nick Morris Sr. And he was going to go up there, and I don't know if I should say his age. He's 86 years old, and he was going to go up and do this. Fortunately, he didn't have to. The Pattersonville fire chief took his equipment and went up and did it. I mean, this is the kind of things that go on that people don't even realize what the police departments do. You know, we had a theft in here, and who came to investigate it? It was the sheriff's department. This is what they do. They investigate crimes, and when they report on duty every day, they don't know what they're going to encounter. I mean, everybody here that's in law enforcement, and Jack's retired from the Rotterdam Police Department, he'll tell you, every one of them will tell you, you don't know what you're going to encounter when you go report for duty. Who knows what's going to happen? I just can't understand why we would be even thinking about doing something like that. That's why I want to be a part of this, and I think the whole board would like to be a part of this. And Doug, you have anything to say?
No. No, it's true. Everything you said is true. You don't have a police department, you don't have nothing. You want martial law? I got guns. Lots of them.
Nicole?
I agree with everything, so I support this and support the police and think it's a good idea.
Jim? Jim was part of the Schenectady Fire Department. He's an EMT, so he certainly knows what goes on.
Yeah, I'm a retired captain from the fire department. And I'll tell you, what concerns me is I've seen stuff like this happen before. A month ago, the whole concept of defunding police was a ridiculous idea. It was laughable. A month later, it's reality. I mean, are you kidding me? My concern is that in 2 months, it could really be a reality where departments are actually starting to get defunded. And I mean, this is just, has to be stopped. We cannot defund police departments. It's a big mistake. They're realizing that already. I mean, their crime rate is up. It's crazy. So, yeah, I'm definitely on board. I don't want to see defunding. I'm afraid that if there isn't some pushback on this, it's going to happen. And that's the reality of it. And once it happens, we got to live with it. So that's my position.
Ben, do you have anything?
Nothing to add, you guys summarized it pretty well.
Well,
I got something to add.
go ahead, Jack.
add statistics to what you said, and add to what James said, there are over 800,000 sworn law officers in the United States. 800,000. 12% of them are female. A total of 1,627 law officers died in line of duty in the last 10 years. That's 1 every 54 hours. The deadliest day in law enforcement history was September 11th, 2001. We all remember that. Everyone was running from those buildings, except the police and the firemen. The first responders were running there. 72 officers died that day. There are 365 female officers listed on the memorial wall. 11 female officers were killed in 2019. When this happens, the people who hate the uniform have no respect for who you are or what you are. And the only time that I know as a police officer, and most police officers, both my sons are troopers, and we have many people in law enforcement, the police, the firemen, the EMTs, the emergency room nurses, you couldn't find more colorblind, religious blind, sexual orientation blinded group of people in the world. They just go to help people. This is the biggest lie you could imagine. And when on September 11th, they were all heroes. Society was just, they couldn't celebrate them enough. And like Jim said, we had 8 incidents, there has been several, but on 800,000 officers that serve every day, we've had a couple incidents. Like you said, you have either people make bad mistakes, bad decisions, tragedies, or maybe there is a hate there in that one person. You don't defund police departments for that. You train better, and you work harder at getting more professional police departments. And the police departments themselves, when they see a bad apple, they work just as hard trying to get that person out, harder than you would. This is totally ridiculous, this defunding of police departments. I'm reading, and you don't see it in the news, but I see it on the internet, where there are cities and there are towns that are increasing the budget of the police departments to give them better training. And that's what needs to be done.
Thank you, Jan. The other question that comes up now, and I said it tentatively, they could use the parking lot here to park their vehicles or whatever, and they would be allowed to run signs, walk up and down, whatever you wanted to do. But I wanted to run it by the board, just to make sure. I don't want to be like I'm a dictator or something and say it's okay. Ben, do you have any problems with that?
No, I don't have any problems.
Jim?
No.
Nicole?
No.
And I don't. So I guess
We'll
it's a
make
go
sure it's
for
picked
that.
up, Lou, before we leave.
And did you have something?
Yeah. I just wanted to say that for nearly a quarter century now, I've been surprising myself with what everyday people would do, given the encouragement, the understanding they were not alone doing the right thing when they're feeling intimidated. Let's give people encouragement that it is right to stand by our police, our corrections officers, the people who we hire to do what we can't do when we damn sure desperately need it. You know, I mean, I get choked up because of the good people I met, the blessings, everyday people who only needed to know it was all right to do what they knew was wrong, do what was right, in the face of, I'm sorry, when you're talking about what happened to my civil rights movement, the people who represent us now, the kids who've been led astray, who would march with someone like Reverend King, and who are marching with these clowns now, and stand to have their lives ruined when it catches up to them in their old age, their middle age. The people who wanted to stand by me at the Amadou Diallo trial and support the officers who we all said are being lynched like the Ku Klux Klan by the heirs of our civil rights movement. And were too intimidated. They thought of their families, their kids, their grands, their greats, who would be held by these damn thugs who are doing what's happening now, 20 years later. For all the efforts of all the good people I've known since the Second Amendment Civil Rights Movement, the Tea Party, the people who arrived in sometimes tens of thousands and left the places we met cleaner than we found them. And then we're called haters, bigots, Nazis for the people who came and tore things up and tore things down and burned things and beat people up, destroyed neighborhoods, put people out of business, people who had built neighborhoods, rental properties that were either burned down or now in places where nobody decent wanted to live. The insurance cost of repairing stuff made it impossible for them to charge what people would want to pay to be in a neighborhood. That was how theirs was now represented. You know, a lot of good people did incredible things nobody will ever know. They were just average people who simply had to know that if they stood up and took a chance doing what they were doing, and I wish a lot of them were here, well, I guess, it's better they not see where we are today. That this is necessary. And so many people after all this time are still so intimidated to stand up and do the right thing. But if we do this, and people record it and share it on their social media, I've seen these movements grow from scratch. I've seen people come out with talent and skills and resources and make something big happen that's worth remembering and honoring, and that we're not besmirched by the kind of people who are the new face of our civil rights movement. And God knows there are enough good people who don't need to be put through that, like introducing children to drugs. There are people who'd be decent supporters of everything we've got worth having and passing on. And there are those who do their share, no matter what it takes, not just in law enforcement or corrections, but everyday people who have everything else to do. They volunteer for all kinds of worthwhile projects. They're trying to leave a better place for their heirs. We can do this. If we give those people the encouragement to see that they can do this, you'll be surprised who comes out and supports this and how it spreads. To this day, I am awed, impressed, and feel blessed better than anything I've done to deserve. There are people like you around, seriously. And all we gotta do is reach out to more of us who are out there. And the officers and their families will get the encouragement and respect they've earned and deserve. And we'll have a better culture for it. And maybe a lot more people will be less willing to fall and stand by quietly the next time somebody comes up with some crap like this. But seriously, the people we try and serve, the people we try and help, the people we try and bring together, they and their kids are worth it. My experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, mine's a personal reason. EMS, 26 years in the state of New York, most of it in Delaware County. Critical care tech. He's been around a long time, so he knows what I'm talking about. I've been through, you name it, I've seen it. Severe car accidents, suicides, childbirths, stabbings, and who's always there with us? The police. Sometimes helping us slip the person into the ambulance. Sometimes we have violent patients who's with us, the police. They don't look if you're white, you're black, you're Republican, Democrat, gay, straight, it doesn't matter. They're there because they're there. And they don't do it for the great pay either. They do because it's in their blood, just like it's EMS, it's in our blood. So it's personal for me to back up these guys and give them a little more morale booster, because at this time, they definitely need it.
Thank you. Anybody else? I can say this is not a Republican or a Democratic issue, this is doing what's right. You know, we have a diverse group of people up here. We're not all Republicans, we're not all Democrats. There's different party affiliations up here.
3 different parties and 4 people. The way it works, we have 2 Republicans, a Democrat, independent, actually 4 different, you're Republicans, okay, so we got three parties in just 5 people, so that's pretty good.
They get along great.
We get along great for years,
Princetown better.
no problems whatsoever.
So, is there anybody else? Like, any of the sheriffs would like to say anything?
Yeah, I would just like to say on behalf of Sheriff D'Agostino, thank you very much for all the support, and everybody offering up their feelings and thoughts today. So it really means a lot to us, so thank you very much. We really do appreciate it.
You deserve it. Okay, I guess that's it then, and we can move on for the resolution then.
You want to close the floor?
Yes, that's right, we'll close the privilege of the floor up at 6:50. The town of Princetown, any other discussion on this from the board before I read the resolution? Town of Princetown appreciates and supports all law enforcement officers. Whereas the town of Princetown does not have its own police department to protect and serve the residents of the town, and whereas the Schenectady County Sheriff's Office was established on March 7th, 1809, in 2009, the Schenectady County Sheriff's Office celebrated its 200th year anniversary, and whereas the residents of the town of Princetown has received the admirable services of both the Schenectady County Sheriff's Department, the New York State Troopers on a regular basis for much of its long history. Whereas by law, the sheriff and other law enforcement is the conservator of peace, and as such, it is responsible to deter criminal activity, arrest criminals, offenders, promote traffic safety, and respond to emergency calls. This is quite long, so bear with me. Whereas both law enforcement agencies have a physical presence in the town of Princetown, helping response times to residents in need of public safety within the town. And whereas the services provided by the law enforcement personnel are absolutely essential to maintain a peaceful, law-abiding community. And whereas law enforcement personnel regularly risk their lives during the performance of their duties, helping to ensure the safety and peaceful existence of law-abiding citizens of the town of Princetown and elsewhere. And whereas our law enforcement provides numerous other services to help better protect our communities, such as its narcotics unit, established in 2015 to address the exploding heroin epidemic, which results in such successful events as 2019 that saw the department conduct 117 separate purchases of narcotics, including half a kilo of raw heroin that was recovered during a search warrant, believed to be the single largest heroin seizure in the history of the Schenectady County. The unit also executed 14 search warrants, 44 arrests in 2019 over Schenectady County. The unit also executed 14 service warrants and 44 arrests in 2019. Over $49,000 in cash was seized and 14 illegal handguns, 21 illegally fully automatic machine guns, and 3 pistols, compatible ballistics, suppressors, silencers. And whereas the Street Crimes Task Force was responsible for many arrests and numerous identifications of gang members and gang-related criminal activity that has affected Schenectady County, whereas the Operation Safe Child program was created in July 2005 to raise awareness about child safety through a historic partnership with the New York State Police, New York State Sheriff's Association, and the New York State Association of Chiefs of Police, the Division of Criminal Justice Services, and its Missing and Exploited Children Clearinghouse. These agencies work with law enforcement officials to provide Operation Safe Child identification cards to families across the state. Whereas Project Lifesaver is a rapid response program that aids in locating at-risk individuals and congenital disorders who are consistent risk to the life-threatening behavior of wandering, including those with Alzheimer's, autism, Down syndrome, and dementia, and returning them to their families or caregivers. And whereas law enforcement personnel have an extremely demanding job dealing with dangerous criminals and erratic behavior from people they encounter. And whereas law enforcement personnel, by performing their duties of employment, not only keep our community safe, but also help to ensure that the unalienable rights of every person as set forth in the United States Declaration of Independence, such as the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas law enforcement, as with any person, entity, or institution, should always look to improve the performance of their duties. And whereas recent events have highlighted the fact that law enforcement personnel can improve the manner in which they handle certain situations, whereas recent events illustrating the need of every organization, including law enforcement, to improve has led many people and organizations, including many public officials, to allow, encourage disrespectful, and even violent criminal behavior towards law enforcement personnel. Whereas the type of behavior and those who encourage or allow such behavior is completely irresponsible and non-conducive to maintaining the peaceful existence of a civilized society. And whereas such behavior is counterproductive in that it leads to more dangerous situations or a escalation of danger in which those who act out towards law enforcement and other innocent people can be harmed. And whereas our leaders and officials, both public and private, should encourage law enforcement to improve their performance, as well as encourage citizens to respect law, order, and those individuals in law enforcement who are tasked with the difficult duties of maintaining such law and order in our society. And whereas the same individuals in law enforcement live in our communities, have families and children of their own, and are mostly good people of all races who do their best to serve and protect us every day while risking their own lives and dealing with the most dangerous elements of society. And whereas in demanding law enforcement respect the rights of citizens, we should also maintain the level of behavior from ourselves that we ask to receive. And whereas the town of Princetown appreciates the excellent service that it received from the law enforcement agencies that protect this community, and whereas the town of Princetown supports all law enforcement and the particular law enforcement agencies that serve this town, and whereas the town of Princetown condemns the acts of those who assault and abuse law enforcement persons, as well as those who permit, allow, or encourage such behavior. Whereas the town of Princetown condemns those public officials who fail to openly support law enforcement while they risk their lives in dangerous job for protection and benefit of our society. Now therefore, it is resolved that the town of Princetown hereby publicly declares that it appreciates and supports all law enforcement, in particular the law enforcement agencies that service the town, and hereby encourages all law enforcement to always strive to improve the performance of their duties, as should we all. This resolution shall be sent to all elected officials that represent the town of Princetown, and shall be sent to Governor Cuomo's office and President Trump. We also encourage the city, town, village, and counties throughout New York to pass similar resolutions supporting police, fire, and all first responders. Is there any more discussion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Doug.
Okay,
Nicole?
Councilmember Pavoldi?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Russo?
Yes.
Councilmember Mora? Yes. Councilmember Gray?
Yes.
Supervisor Esposito?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Motion's carried. Okay, we have some other business. I don't know if you guys want to stick around for it. I'm sure you probably don't, but since it's just town business, we thank you for coming.
Thanks for your time. Sorry we were late a little bit. We had to make some copies.
We know how it feels.
Can I steal a resolution, or are you going to send me one in the morning?
You can have this one.
Is that correct, Lou?
I have two copies.
Well, he's gonna email it to us, so we can just electronically.
But I can use that right now.
We have a couple left. Here.
There's some extras right on the table right there.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you talk to Paul, tell him you met JP of Princetown.
Okay.
That's.
I
We
met,
met once before.
did we, I know
This
I
one
met
has
Paul
to do
before.
with Carl.
Yep.
I don't think you need that
No.
one.
Good enough.
Okay, you can be in touch.
I'll be here the rest of the week up there.
Okay, thank
Good.
you. You can have a couple more copies if you want. Take them out.
I'm all set, because I can make my copies right at the office. Thank you. So it's okay for me to put out the press release?
Yes.
And use this as the basis of it?
Yes.
Great, thank you, people.
Okay, guys.
Have a good
Thank you
evening.
for coming.
Look forward to seeing you again.
Been a long day.
Yes, it
See
will.
you Saturday.
That's
Lunch is
all right.
on me.
Did I do anything for a free lunch?
Well, I'm making a good one. Hey, Mike. Mike.
Okay. We have, we all set here? We have a memorandum of understanding from the CDTC. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, I'm tired of reading it right now. If you wanted to take a minute to read it over, I've been attending these CDTC meetings. I'm on the policy board for the CDTC, which is the Capital District Transportation Authority, and I've been on them about redesigning this intersection. The town of Rotterdam approved, their planning board approved the land across from the truck stop. They're going to have a travel center, a gas station, liquor store, and a Wendy's with a drive-through. And that is gonna cause a lot of problems with the truck parking. I know that people don't think that that's a necessary thing, but I can assure you that being in the business for 50-plus years, it is a serious thing, truck parking. Without it over here, we've got a distribution center. Gold's, I think when I did the study on it, they got 350 trucks in and out of there every day. Between Voorheesville and the depot over here, Rotterdam Industrial Park, they've got over 700 coming in and out. They have to have room for early arriving trucks. I guess sometimes Gold lets them in, from what I understand. He's been at some of the CDTC meetings, not him personally, but his transportation manager. But something's gotta be done. You can't have all these trucks coming in and no place to park them. So I've been complaining about that during these meetings, and they finally came up with this linkage study. It's not gonna cost the town anything because, town of Princetown, because it's all in Rotterdam, but I'm gonna be the point person from Princetown, and I think their planning board, not chair, their planner is gonna be the point person from there, plus DOT, and they're gonna be hiring engineers to come up with some kind of a solution for this. I've got my own ideas on it, but I'm very fortunate to have this study being done. It's gonna take a while to do it. According to one of the planning board members in Rotterdam, their approval, I think, is based on what DOT has to say. So the process is gonna start, and this memorandum of agreement over here has to be signed, and the sooner we sign it, the better. Like I said, it's not, if anybody wants to read it over, and I hope you don't want me to read it.
Can you just summarize like what Princetown's responsibilities are? I know there's a section.
Well, I have to work with them and keep track of the time I put into it. So, because the money is coming from the state, I think it's over $100,000 to do this study, if I'm not mistaken, someplace in here it says it. But that's what it's gonna be. The study's gonna take up to 2 years. Finally, something's gonna be done with this intersection over here, and I know that the town of Rotterdam is bringing their sewer lines now up to the end of Burdick Street, up to Route 7. It's only gonna be a question of time before the land is up, across from Shelman is up for sale now, and according to their planner over in Rotterdam, they've had a lot of calls on it already. Crounce's farm over here was gonna be owned by Flying J. They filed bankruptcy and Pilot bought them out, so they're not gonna compete against themselves. But sometimes, some places they do. They'll build another truck stop. But that's basically what it's gonna do, and I think it's a good study. Along with that land that they sold is the land across from the town hall, which was planning on being a, apartment complexes. I don't know, if they're gonna do that now. It was Quality Petroleum bought the land. Quality Petroleum purchased all of the land and in Princetown, from what I understand, and they purchased. I don't know if they did it on a contingency that they got approval to put up this gas station. But that's really gonna be a real traffic mess down here unless they do something with it. So, like I say, we're very fortunate there. I'm glad that since I've been attending these meetings, they've asked me to be a part of it. And I think it's a good thing, so.
Rotterdam already did approve the buildings that are gonna go up there, right?
Apparently they have. Tentatively, from what Clark has said to me.
So they'll be up long before any.
It could be, yes. Well, it could be that, according to Clark is on the planning board in Rotterdam. He's our water commissioner, as you know. He said a lot of it's contingent on what the DOT has to say about the road.
Because a lot of those trucks park right in that area, which they aren't gonna be able to do anymore.
No,
Once that opens up, that's it, it's the
they'll
end
be
of that.
parking down this way more.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real problem.
And then and the GPS systems now are routing all of the trucks that have to go to Voorheesville over Pangburn Road, which is not good for our infrastructure, our water systems. But I guess we can't really stop that. But that's the problem we're encountering now. So they gotta do something with it. You know, they build these distribution centers and nobody ever takes, and I've been to the roundtable discussion in Syracuse with Federal Highway, and I brought this up, that, you know, planning boards should take into consideration early arriving trucks and where they're gonna park them. But being a home rule state, as all states are, right, you can't tell, the planning and the feds can't tell the planning boards how to conduct their business. So, I mean, we could tell our planning board, give them suggestions on, you know, if you're gonna build a distribution center in our town. I can't see any in the near future, now that they sold the land to, but when it was McLean's, that was an issue at the time. But they just don't take into consideration early arriving trucks and where you park them. They all want everybody likes going to the grocery store and buying groceries. Didn't they ever think of how it gets there? Really? You know, so I guess this is a good thing, I think.
So do we need a motion to,
Yeah, I would like it because, I mean, we can just agree on it and I can bring it up at the next town board meeting, but they want this signed.
we're meeting now, we might as well make a motion to approve the study and your participation in the study. I don't know how you wanna word it any different.
Well, actually, it's worded right in there.
Oh, the motion?
No, the agreement is entered into in this day of, by the Capital District Transportation Place, Town of Princetown.
Okay, our attorney said just make a motion to authorize the execution of the agreement, and I would make that motion. So the motion is to authorize the execution of the agreement that we just discussed about the
CDTC and the linkage study.
and linkage study.
Is there a second?
Then there wasn't it. Second? Done? Okay.
It's up to you, Nicole.
Okay, Councilmember Pavoldi?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Caruso?
Yes.
Councilmember Gregg?
Yes.
Councilmember Moore? Yes. And Supervisor Esposito?
Yes. Okay, there is one other thing, I think. I've got the memorandum of understanding. And one other thing, it's been brought up to me again about if the seniors are gonna be allowed to use the town hall again in the near future. Next meeting, the town hall is gonna be open for our meetings again, which is in July, will be our first meeting. I think that maybe we should consider this and in July, make a decision if they can use it again. I mean, I hate to see this, you know, them going on like this. Comes a time when we have to start opening up things over here. And they don't really have a large number of people. I know Jim is involved in the seniors over there. How many people they usually
Not
get?
that many, and we can separate, certainly separate the chairs, and July is usually a quiet meeting anyway, because it's summertime. I think that probably by July, I think it'll be safe to have the meeting here, but it's my
Are we
opinion.
in phase 4 or whatever at this point?
I think they're, yes, they are.
Soon,
When-
within the week or
Yeah,
so.
they did increase the amount of people that can be in churches.
Up to 50, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we never had 50 here.
No, there's never, the most I think you've ever had is about 20.
Yeah, they do have larger meetings, but they hold those at the fire station.
Yeah, so go for it.
So I think we're safe, I think we can do it.
So in July, we looking at? What week in July? The second week when we have our town board meeting?
I should know when the meeting is, but to be
No, I
honest with
mean,
you,
when should we authorize them that they can have their meetings again, or have their thing here? July, at our July meeting?
I would think after our July meeting, yeah, because by then, we'll know for sure if the phase 4 is holding, because the way things are going now, there's been states in phase 3 and phase 4, and then they're getting reversed back.
And he comes in and out with all these different
Yeah,
requirements
he's
depending
very
on what you
confusing.
do, so who
Our-
knows what we're gonna
This
do.
governor is very confusing. You don't know what he's doing. One day he's doing this, one day he's doing that. So I think we could say, I think the safest thing to say is we will make the decision for sure at our July meeting. And by then, we should have plenty of information, and it's coming up soon anyway. In 2 weeks, we'll know. In 2 weeks, we'll know what the deal is.
Yeah, I would think.
As opposed to making a decision tonight, we'll do it at the next meeting. Because
Well,
if
then
anything changes,
I'll tell them that the decision will be made
Yeah.
at the next meeting, and if everything goes right, it'll be a go.
they can do it in July, right?
We're not liable if anybody gets sick, right?
Well, liability is always a concern, and you never say you're not liable, because we own this building, we give permission. Yes, we're liable, actually. If somebody gets sick, it's our building, there's, could be some liability there, I don't know.
Some could be some, if somebody falls.
But we live with that, that's something we have to live with. I mean, we can't be scared to death to get back to business.
I mean, you would want to take steps to potentially reduce your
Right.
liability, like have requirements, you gotta remain spread
Right,
out,
we'll
wear a
do that,
mask or
we
whatever.
will do that.
We've got
Can't eliminate-
there's masks on the table out there, thanks to Schenectady County that gave them to us, and we've got plenty of hand sanitizers now. We've got-
We can mitigate risk, we can't eliminate it, unfortunately, and we're mitigating it. We've got all the equipment, we'll tell them, we have the cleaners, the masks, whatever they need, we'll supply. Nobody's gotta even bring a mask in if they don't want, well, they should, they're walking in the door, but we've got it all. Got plenty of supplies. So you can tell, if you're talking to seniors, tell them we got lots of supplies, if anybody needs anything, let us know. Masks, clean, alcohol. We'll set up the room, and, according to the standards that need to be set up, which.
Well, that's what we did here with this. time.
Exactly. We'll set up the room like this.
I mean, I came over Sunday, Cheryl and I came over and set this all up, and really, the way it's set up, you can only have 16 people in
Yeah.
there now. So, and all of the other chairs are stacked up over there, and until things change, that's the way it's gonna have to be. And I can't see it changing not in the near
Well,
future.
Eventually things will get back to normal. I hope.
All right, there was a problem with the water yesterday again. The
Lightning hit
lightning hit, yes. The,
I heard it crack, cause I was standing right
on Ruger
there.
Drive. It knocked out their sensors that reports water trouble, so they had to get in. Wesley and Clark were here most of the day Sunday, up there trying to get it fixed, and they had
They were
the
here
people up
today.
there again
They were up there today with
Yeah.
the trucks, I see them.
repairing it, so that's another cost. Wesley said that we should turn it into our insurance, but we don't know what the cost is yet. What it costs to do that, what it costs them to put it in, so.
I think our deductible's $1,000, but I'd have to check the policy. It's gonna be more than $1,000.
Oh, yeah,
from what
it'll
Wesley
definitely
was
be more
saying
than
today.
1,000 every time something happens, it's more than 1,000.
This one we can claim, fortunately,
We
and,
can claim it,
get money back.
get some of the money back. Unfortunately, the deductible we don't get back, but
Yeah.
we met with Wesley this morning, was it this morning? Yeah.
Yes.
And he said there's quite a bit of damage there.
Yeah.
So, not good.
The other thing is, always something with the water lately. The other thing is, Jim, you wanna talk about this computer problem we have now and what we have to do?
Yeah, there's.
We gotta get this straightened out.
We have several computers right now that are still on operating system Windows 7. That's just not good. It's no longer supported. There are no patches to repair anything. We have to eliminate that. Everybody is going to be converted to Windows 10 operating system, and I have to do that. We held off because a few people didn't want to do it, and they were saying that things weren't working, but we just can't anymore. We're spending a lot of money now on cybersecurity. We're doing everything we can, so we have to put everybody on Windows 10. Now that means that if the computers don't have a fast enough chip, and it has to be 5 or better, we may have to get a couple of new computers. I know the water department needs a laptop. They said they can no longer function without it efficiently, so we have to buy them a laptop. We've got a few other little repairs that are gonna occur. I think I got a bill for about $360 for a couple things that need to be upgraded. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to spend some money here on our IT situation. We don't have an IT department. We do hire Omnis, we pay them something, but we don't have a full-time.
Quite a bit we're paying them
Yeah,
now.
quite a bit, actually. But we really do have to, we have to get everybody on Windows 10. And that may be purchasing 1 or 2 more computers, so unfortunately, we're looking down the road at some more expense. I'm gonna have a meeting, hopefully tomorrow with Omnis. I'll know a lot more details after that meeting, so. And I will have the information for everybody, for the board at the next meeting. In most towns, there's an IT professional on site, and, they keep everything up to speed. Unfortunately, I'm kind of the liaison. I do the best I can, but I'm not an IT professional, and I admit that, so, we have to rely on third party, and third-party equipment, third-party consultation, and, we do have to make some upgrades. It's just that simple. We don't have any choice. We've got to do it.
Any questions? Okay. That's what's going on. Thank you for signing this thing. Thanks for our participation in this, supporting law enforcement in our community. I certainly do appreciate it, and I appreciate all the support that we can give them. And wait and see what happens.